All right, we are live. Yes to this. Welcome back to Power of the Pack, the Female Quotient LinkedIn Live series, where we have timely, relevant, culturally conscious, and real conversations on Tuesdays. My name is Amber Coleman Mortley, and I lead community and culture here at the Female Quotient. And I'm so excited about today's topic because I was a college athlete. I played 3 varsity sports in college. I'm also raising girl athletes. And so I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about today. There's a lot of excitement around women's sports. Let's think about like the Paris Olympics, the WNBA, the National Women's Soccer League, gymnastics, track and field, tennis, and so many other professional women's sports and leagues are gaining traction and notoriety. In fact, if you haven't seen the girls' flag football videos on TikTok, do yourself a favor and check those out. But this isn't novelty. Women's sports have always been exciting, especially for the women and girls who compete. But not every athlete is going to play at the collegiate or professional level. Did you know that 94% of women in the C suite have played sports? And athletic participation at any level can provide, valuable lessons for leadership and successful business careers. So today we're going to unpack how women's sports fuels leadership and why we need more girls to get in the game. But first, we asked our community members this question on Instagram: how does participating in sports support leadership? Here's what y'all had to say. And we want to know, y'all who are watching right now, share your insights. Did you play? Were you an athlete? What sports you played? Are you coaching athletes? Are you raising athletes? We'd love to hear from you. All right, here's what our community members had to say. Sports helps you to find the leader in yourself through focus, goal setting, and improvement. I love that. Big effort required to succeed. Success is fulfilling and addictive. Yes, I can attest to that. Playing as a team brings you clarity or direction and symmetry. Love that. Learning to encourage others and adapt to their individual needs. So we got a couple more. I'm only going to read a few. It's an exercise in problem solving in a neutral environment with lower stakes. Yes, I just said that to my kid literally yesterday. Teaches both teamwork and leadership and learning from both wins and losses. You guys can see the others here. So we just want to thank everyone who participated in today's question. We have one every single time we have a LinkedIn Live. Please make sure you are following the Female Quotient on LinkedIn and Instagram so that you can share your voice. And again, thank you to everyone who participated. One more thing, this is not a panel. This is an equality watch party, and we want each of you to participate. So tag or text any friends, colleagues, family members who need to be here right now. Let them know this conversation is going. We really want to shine a spotlight on women's sports. It's a really great time for women's sports. So bring folks into this conversation and let's have an amazing discussion. All right, it is time for us to engage the power of the pack. I am so excited to welcome all of my amazing powerhouses to the stage. Thank you all so very much for saying yes and joining us in our community in this conversation. I'd like for each of you to introduce yourselves and share who you are, what you do, really quickly, because there's a lot of us here. And if you want to share, what sport you played or what sport you're affiliated with, or if you've coached a sport, you can drop that in. Brag about yourself. We're going to start off with Robin. Oh, you're on mute, Robin. No worries. No worries.
I am Robin Ward. I am a CEO and founder coach. I call it coaching general business athletes, and I use a lot of performance science and sports psychology as a person who played all kinds of sports growing up. I am a co-founder of a women executive basketball club that we started in LA on Shelly Zallis, the CEO of the Female Quotient's basketball court. And that is one of the origin points of Angel City Women's Football Club here in LA, of which I'm a founding investor.
That is so amazing. Shelly's trying to drag me out to one of these games one of these days, Robin. So I've been dusting off my jumper, so I might be seeing you out there soon.
I'll tell you, we drink a little rosé, we snack, and then we play some ball. So we do it in a fun way.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. Amy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Breen. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I compete in CrossFit, and particularly adaptive CrossFit, because I was born without my right leg. And so in addition to that, I'm also a motivational speaker and athlete. I do several programming for individuals and groups. And a lot of that programming recently has been dedicated to lower amputees who are new to a prosthesis, not sure how to trust, learn how to walk, get back into the gym, and overcome a lot of fear. So when I'm not speaking or competing, I'm primarily focused on growing that program and helping amputees get confidence.
So glad to have you, Amy. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Shayon.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Shayon Adigun. I am the first African to compete in both the Summer and Winter Olympic Games, competing in track and field at the 2012 London Games, and I drove the historic Nigerian women's bobsled team at the 2018 Winter Olympics. Now, professionally, I have segued into being a sports chiropractor and a sports biomechanist, really focused on treating athletes from a mind, body, and spirit approach and taking an integrated approach to healthcare for the next generation of athletes.
So glad to have you. Thank you so very much for joining us. Nicole.
Hi there, I'm Nicole Souza. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Publicis Group Creative in the US. And my sports journey has been several different sports teams growing up in different sports throughout my childhood. As a college athlete, I was part of a dance team at Drake University, and I've been a lifelong long distance runner, which I still do today. So thank you for having me.
Love it. Love it. Glad to have you. Lois. Oh no, Lois, we lost you. So we're gonna skip Lois and come back to you, Lois, because we couldn't see you. Buki, we'll have you go next.
Hi, everyone. So I am Buki Furky. I am a senior product leader at
Hi,
Google.
everyone.
Oh.
Lois Cook.
Oh, wait, Lois, we're gonna have you pause for 1 second. We'll come back to you.
So hi, everyone. I'm Buki Furky. I'm a senior product leader at Google. I work on data and AI cloud. Before being a product leader at Google, I was an NCAA Division I athlete. I ran track and field like Dr. Shayon, and I did the heptathlon. I was a Penn Relays champion, an NCAA All-American, a Big East MVP, and I missed track and field. And today I work on AI, which is fun, exciting, and I've been in tech for the last decade.
Awesome. All right, Bonnie, we'll have you go.
Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Bonnie Bernstein. I am the founder and CEO of a production company called Walk Swiftly Productions. Entrepreneurship is my 2.0 after spending nearly 2 decades on air as a reporter and host for ESPN and CBS. I'm so grateful to be on here today. I am a former collegiate gymnast, also did track and field, but my primary focus right now is a platform I'm building out. The original name of the podcast was She Got Game, where we talked exactly about what we're talking about today, this indelible connection between how what we learn on the fields of play tees us up for success in life. So we featured amazing women like Chelsea Clinton and Aisha Tyler, Layla Ali, Shawn Johnson, and every single one of the people on this panel discussion today at some point will be one of my guests as we build out the broader platform. So super excited to be here with all of you.
Yay, Bonnie, I love when the worlds cross and like collide and become more amazing. So thank you so very much.
I know.
Dr. Jen, and then Lois will come to you after Dr. Jen.
Yeah. Hey, friends. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you very much. And so my name is Jen Fry. I was a Division II volleyball player. I was a college volleyball coach for about 15 years. I coached at Illinois when we played for a national championship. Unfortunately, we lost to UCLA. So if there's anyone here that went to UCLA, you're going to have to get off. You can't just beat me and be on this call. Like, I'm going to look in this chat. You got to go, my friend. I have a PhD in sports geography. I'm probably one of the only in the world. I look at race, place, and space in relation to Black female athletes overseas. I am also a professional speaker, so I sit at the intersection of conflict and culture. I talk all about how conflict affects your personal and professional lives. And especially when we talk about women, I talk a lot about how we build self-advocacy, set boundaries, the ability to say no, and really to just put yourself out there, because what we tend to see is so many women are afraid because they don't want to make people mad. They're afraid how they'll look. They're afraid if they're not liked. And we chat all about that because that has a root of not wanting to deal with conflict. I also have two tech companies, kind of like Buki. I'm in the tech space. So the first one is called Cordo, is a group movement platform. So if you think about when you travel with people, many times you have to use Google Sheets, text messages, calendar invites. We put it all into one app that's easy to use so that we are saving relationships for you, friends. Because how many friendships have you broken up because of group travel, events like that? We are saving your friendship. So holler at us because we focus on how we move groups really, really well, youth sports, professional, all that stuff. And then my second tech company is called Hireable. It's a career development company meant to help scale the careers of Black and Brown professionals in the world of sports. So holler at me, and I look forward to this conversation.
Awesome. So glad to have you. Lois.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that earlier. I am Lois Cook. I'm a professional wide receiver with the DC Divas. I play football, women's pro tackle football. I am also a social media influencer. I love to show that women can be fierce and feminine and strong and play football. I'm a speaker. I am an advocate for women in sports, but especially for little girls who like to play football. In fact, I travel the country to visit young girls who are often the only girl on the football team in high schools. I'm also a community ambassador, and I am the vice president of the DC Divas women's pro football team.
That's awesome. All right, look at us. Like, this lineup is amazing. I welcome everyone, and thank you so very much to our community for dropping in your comments, for sharing with us. If you have questions, please drop them in. If you want to brag about yourself or brag about another woman athlete, please drop that in. We are all about doing that. Amy, Lois, Robin, and Buki, we're going to start off with you all first for this question, but we'll try to get to everybody because I think it's just a really important way for us to level set. Let's talk about how sports have impacted or changed your life or life trajectory. I, for one, know very much I would not be sitting in the seat right now if it weren't for playing sports. So, Amy, I'd love to hear from you first. Just talk a little bit about how sports have impacted your life.
Yeah, absolutely. My journey is a little bit of a unique one. I did not grow up in sports at all. I avoided them at all costs. And I actually use the phrase, I'm one of the least athletic people you'll ever meet, very often. So I was born without my right leg. So I've never had an amputation. And while I had a great childhood, I just avoided the things that scared me. And for me, that was sport. I assumed that because I had an adaptation, I wouldn't be able to feel athletic. And that really started to change in 2015. I joined a boxing gym without any particular kind of end goal in mind. And I was starting to learn things that I wasn't great at first, but I realized that through consistency and through hard work and just continuing to show up even while I was, self-conscious or had fear or whatever, I could actually get quite good at it. And so I learned to kickbox, which brought me to weightlifting, which gave me a whole different kind of confidence in gym and in life. And that eventually brought me to CrossFit. And so really everything that I'm doing today, I never even imagined for myself. So sport quite literally changed my career and my trajectory, but it also gave me confidence that I didn't know, one, how much I was lacking, but how much more capacity that I had within myself. And everything I tell people, I love to work out clearly, but being in the gym, the most important lessons I've learned very much carry into every other aspect of my life. And that's what I love to communicate with everyone, whether or not they do a specific sport that I relate to or CrossFit.
Appreciate that. I would love to hear from Lois. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, thank you. So, when I was a young girl, I wanted to be in the NFL. That was the only football that I knew. And interestingly, I took it to high school. That was the first time I was introduced to organized football. I went to high school and I told the coach, I said, "Hey, this is my thing. I want to play football." And he was like, "No." And so at that time, I was the only girl. It didn't really strike me as a thing because I didn't see any other women who played, but it made me obsessed with the sport. So obsessed that I would watch everything that the high school boys did. They carried the ball. The quarterback had to carry the ball in school. They had to wear their jerseys. So when I went to college, I went to Clark Atlanta University. So Dr. Jen, I'm good. I'm clear from from your story. But Clark Atlanta University, I carried the ball everywhere that I went. I threw the ball around campus to random strangers. And then the head coach was actually the security guard on campus. He was the head coach of the women's team. So he recruited me to play. But just being obsessed with the sport and being able to really make it a part of my life, I carried it throughout life. And when I found the women's team, that was so exciting to me because it wasn't the NFL, but it was even better. It was all women who played, and I felt like I belonged there. But I did end up working outside of sports. I got a job as a commercial real estate manager, but I felt like something was missing. Like my whole thing was football, it was sports. And so fast forward, I see the importance of showing young girls that they can aspire to be whatever it is that they want to be. If they want to play sports, they can do it just with hard work. And because of that experience that I had as a young girl, I find myself speaking to other young girls, maybe speaking to my past self. But it's so important for me today. So I've made it my career to really advocate for football and for women in sports.
I love that. I love that. And I really, really appreciate that. Now I need to go see a game, okay, because you are in that.
Let's
so
go. You need to come play in a game.
Okay, like don't tease me with the good time. So Robin, you're going to go next. But I do want to remind everyone in our community, we'd love to know how sports have impacted your life as well. So please definitely share that with us as you brag about yourself and the women in your life who play sports. Robin, would love to know how sports have impacted your life or changed your life trajectory. You can even sprinkle in why it's important for us to really encourage girls to play right now.
And that is a state where sports is religion. I was a tomboy and I played softball, soccer, and football, Lois. And I was awesome at all three. And when they came to take me from Pee Wee to separate me to play with the girls from the boys, I didn't understand it. I had multiple conversations with my dad, who was the coach. Why are we being separated? What's happening? And I believe that really taught me later in my career the confidence. I had a chip on my shoulder. I was like, I can play ball. I can do what these boys are doing. I was the best in those leagues. And turns out I ended up in business. I was an investment banker and I was the only female recruit in my class. And then I was in technology 25 years ago, which we know now still has a gender and overall diversity problem. And I believe that my success in those spaces was that I was the only woman on the field when I was young, and I leveraged the skills to be successful as the only woman in the room throughout my career. And that did impact me wanting to be an advocate for both bringing a women's sports team most recently, but I've been an advocate for changing the ratio of women and BIPOC founders and funders in the tech space for about 20 years.
Love that. Actually would love to get into, as we get in later in the discussion, like the challenges that you may have experienced. So just think about that as we go through, Robin. Appreciate you sharing. Buki, I'm gonna have you go next and just, let the group know if there's any one or two more people who want to share before we jump into some of these other questions, because I want to get to as many as possible. Buki.
Sure. So one of the things that sports did for me is it showed me kind of the heroines who I could aspire to or look up to. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. I was in a very conservative, not diverse space. And I remember sitting in class and learning about Wilma Rudolph. Right. And I learned that, she was this Tennessee State University Tiger Belle who grew up with a disability and was able to achieve phenomenal things. And at the time, I had grown up with challenges with walking. And I remember seeing her and I'm like, I'm going to the Olympics. That was it for me. It was elementary school and nothing was stopping me because I saw what she did. And it made me believe that I could do it too. The second thing I'll share with athletics is it showed me that behind the impossible is a really good team, plan, and support system. I remember when my first, collegiate coach, there's cycles in collegiate track and field, we won't talk about that, but we will talk about how my first coach was phenomenal. And I remember them saying, hey, this is a 4-year plan to get to the Olympics. And at that time, I hadn't even qualified for an NCAA conference. I'm like, how is this possible? But it was these are the years and these are the steps. And before I knew it, I was at an Olympic trial. So I think that the two takeaways are sports has introduced me to the heroes that I aspire to be. And I can't thank them enough for breaking the doors down so I could come after them. And the second thing is that behind the impossible is a really good team, plan, and support system.
I absolutely love that, because I think in many ways we only see the performance of it all, and we do not understand all of the hard. I mean, we all understand all the hard work of it. All right, so Dr. Sharon, I'd love for you to go, and then Bonnie, and then we will start our next question with Dr. Jen after that.
Yeah, first of all, I am so pumped right now. I am like riled up by everybody that's just spoken, and just this community of like minds and resilience and commitment and encouragement. You know, this is just everything that I feel like each one of us at some point in our lives, not even just like our sports or athletic, journeys, but in our actual just lives, have either wanted, needed, or aspired to create, for someone else. And I couldn't piggyback off of Buki even more, right? Like, and it's really a combination of what everyone said, to be honest. Like, I think the reality is representation is extremely important. And I knew even after the Summer Olympic Games, for me was it was a goal to prove to myself that I can compete with the best, right? And I think that I would have never had that type of courage or confidence to do that, especially because I had 2 heart surgeries. And having 2 heart surgeries and then thinking about participating in professional sport, they were like an oxymoron, right? But I didn't realize that after my second heart surgery, my ability to like just live, just be present, to be competitive, to believe, it grew astronomically. And I knew that that was my moment where I was like, I'm going to give this 3 years and I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to give everything I have to compete at these next Olympic Games. And so fast forward to the Winter Olympics, here I am again in a place where representation matters. I knew I wanted to be the doctor I needed when I was a professional athlete. But I knew that as a woman, and especially as a minority woman, it might be a little bit difficult. Maybe as an Olympian, I'll get a seat at the table, but how would I be able to kind of speak at this table, right? And so maybe if I got into another sport, I raised the ability for myself to be able to help those who really need it. And that's what I sought out to do for the 2018 games, which turned into something much bigger when I realized an entire continent of Africa had zero representation in the sport of bobsled. So I think, the reality of it is that representation matters, and it really drives our commitment to service and our commitment to people in general. And I think that's the biggest thing that sport has done to impact my life, not only to myself, but to everyone else.
I love that so much. Thank you so very much, Dr. Sharon. I would say for myself, sports has been the one place where I could literally like manifest something and then it actually happens because of all the hard work, clearly, and the planning, and the believing in myself and the support of others. So yes, love, love, love everything. Bonnie, I'd love to know what your thoughts on this before I go to Dr. Jen and Nicole. Bonnie?
Manifesting. Oops, of course. Am I there?
No, you're good now. You're good. You're good.
Good now? You think you do this a million times, you would actually unmute yourself. Amber, you talked about manifesting. When you're manifesting things, the reality is that there is a lot of failure and you require resilience to actually manifest effectively, to bring your goals to life. And I find that when I come across athletes, there's just a more acute understanding of the power of failure, how failure is necessary to ultimately succeed. Because think about, in any sport, it's rare that you ever do whatever it is you're trying to do right the first time. So it requires repetition and persistence and patience and understanding that failure is a stepping stone to success. And all of these things are so endemic to sports that when I fast forward and look at why it was that I was able to, thrive for nearly 2 decades in sports at the network level, when I first got in, there were so few women who were covering sports. There are more now, but it's still only fractional to what it is relative to men. And so you need that intestinal fortitude. And I often reflect back on, I blew out my knee 4 times, 3 in college. When I initially blew my ACL, the orthopedic surgeon told me, we're going to reconstruct, but you have to come to grips with the fact that your career might be over. And in that moment, Amber, I remember staring this renowned orthopedic surgeon in the face and thinking to myself, You don't get to tell me when my career is over. I determine when my career is over. And being able to take that intestinal fortitude, understanding the power of resilience, understanding the purpose and failure, and applying that all to rising in an industry that when I got in really wasn't terribly embracing of women, I honestly think I would have gotten eaten alive. And I think you can probably apply that to entrepreneurship as well. And any of you out there who have decided to take the fearless journey of entrepreneurship, you know that all of this stuff comes into play and that you have the ability to channel your inner athlete to thrive.
Okay, Bonnie, you better preach that word. I will definitely say, and Buki, as one of my very close friends knows, how delusional I can be when it comes to setting a goal. And it's because of sports. So, Bonnie, thank you for bringing that. And thank you all for bringing all of the amazing things in. Thank you, community. We're nearing the halfway mark. So I just want to remind everyone, please, if you know folks who need to be here right now, please let them know they can join us late. It's all good. The seats are open. We would love to have you here with us. I want to go to Dr. Jen, just talk a little bit about how your experience playing on a team, even coaching, right? Shout out to us coaches. Even coaching prepared you to build and lead, in business, right? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think the first thing is kind of what bouncing off of what Bonnie said is that playing taught me the importance of it being a really good teammate because I was a very shitty teammate when I was young. My mom showed me this video of me as a junior in high school. Luckily, it's on VHS, so I can burn the video and no one will ever, y'all ain't gonna ever see this video. No one even has a VHS player, so I'm not worried about anyone seeing this. But I think it taught me how critical being a good teammate is. Everyone wants to be the hero. You need to be a good teammate, and really the skills behind being a really good teammate. I think being a coach, the one thing I tell people is that if you're a coach, you can do anything because you have phenomenal transferable skills. You are literally leading a small business. You're doing hiring, firing, budgeting, equipment, tech. You're doing everything humanly possible. So it taught me just the tremendous amount of skills to then be able to be a CEO. Because when you're running startups, you are doing everything. Right? I think we see a lot in the news about like somebody raised 20 million, 30 million. They have these huge staffs. Nah, baby, when you are a startup, you are the CEO, the CFO, the CTO, the janitor, the paper mover, you are the orderer, the fixer, everything. And so it taught me to be able to have a lot of balls in the air to manage things. I think that's a critical thing is that when you are a coach, you have phenomenal skills to do so many different things. And also as a coach, it taught me how to lead different personalities for a goal. There are so many things in coaching that you have to get over to lead a team and a staff. And people don't, in regular business, you kind of don't have to do it as much, but you have to be able to have an argument with someone on the court, figure your shit out to be able to win the next point. You cannot sit and dwell on things for too long because if you do, it's going to affect your whole team. So you learn how to look, we might not like each other. I might still be mad at you, but we got to get over this for the team, for the other 6, 10, 15 people on there to go for this common goal. And that's not what's happening really in business. So it teaches you those nuanced skills that are really critical. It also teaches you to do things really fast. Think about when you're in the middle of a championship or something, you have to make a tweak that's going to either win or lose you the game. It literally sports teaches you that. Here we're going to change this defense. You have to implement it immediately to win. So it's those nuanced skills that are so critical that it's taught me.
I love that. And thank you for breaking it down, making it very clear for all of us. So I was like, yeah, of course I have those skills, but I never really think about that. I think a lot of athletes and coaches don't even think about that as well. So Dr. Jen, killed it. I would love to hear from Nicole. I know, Nicole, you want to kind of address why it's important for girls and women to be playing sports, to be in the sports ecosystem, to be participating right now. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And then I'll go to Robin with a similar question.
I do. Thank you for that. Yeah, I just think sports are empowering. I've heard it through this panel and certainly experienced it in my life. I am raising 14-year-old twins, a boy and a girl. They're both athletes. And it's really interesting to watch them as a case study right in front of my own eyes in terms of what sports do for them. Some of it's the same in sort of building confidence and things, but there's a different sort of environment for what my son's experiencing versus what my daughter is experiencing. You know, sometimes the teams for my daughter don't get the same investment or the same, you know, spectator volume. And it's very interesting. And so for her, specifically, I see it's so important for her to feel empowered to play sports that help her build confidence. It's really helping her to learn social navigation skills, to feel that she can sort of lead in some instances on her team. And she's an ice hockey player for a co-ed travel team, which is highly competitive. And she's certainly my hero and my favorite athlete. But it is something without that, I feel like, you know, perhaps she wouldn't have these skills that she really is going to need in life. And I do think that they translate through life, and will for her, and certainly have for me, because no matter what industry you're in, no matter what path you follow, I do think it's more challenging for girls and for women to get to where they want to be. So that empowerment, that self-confidence, that social navigation, all of those things I think are incredibly important for girls.
Critical, super critical. Thank you so very much for reminding us of that, Nicole. You know, I'd love to hear from you, Robin, just thinking about, you know, the transferable skills from fields and pools and tracks and courts to business. You know, would love to hear, thinking about like, what are even some of the challenges that you could overcome in business because of playing in sports? So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so I just want to start by talking about the World Economic Forum. Each year they put out like a list of the 10 most in-demand skills to be successful in business and leadership. And in last year's 2023, 5 of the 10 skills are all things that you learn in sports. Number 1, resilience. Bonnie and many people have talked about it. Number 2, motivation and self-awareness. Yes, we've talked about it. Number 3, dependability. We've talked about it. 4, empathy and active listening. And 5, leadership and social influence. So 5 of those things that are some of the most important skills to be successful are skills that you will learn in sports. And I do want to double click on resilience to answer the second part of what you said, Amber. In business and in tech, there is a resiliency myth. The hustle culture tells you that you are supposed to run at the wall at all costs. That's what entrepreneurs often do. But entrepreneurs that were athletes understand what resilience is, because part of resilience is the first part of the RE in resilience. It's rest and recovery. Athletes understand that the day off and the recovery of the body muscle is important. A lot of times entrepreneur and business leaders don't understand that the mind is one of your biggest muscles and that you need rest and recovery. So my sports playing entrepreneurs actually understand resilience better, which makes sure that they are in it for the marathon and not the sprint.
Okay, I think we undervalue the rest and recovery. I love that you brought that in there. Thank you so very much for that, Robin. We have a great question, and we'll get to that question. So thank you so very much for dropping that in. But Lois, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic where we're talking about the transferable skills and even, you know, how they're developed through athletic participation and why they're so valuable. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, one of the first things that came to my mind was the rest and recovery, because it's something that's definitely undervalued and it's so incredibly important. But another thing that really comes to mind is that there is always a bigger picture than just you yourself, and there's a bigger purpose in life. And you know, for me, it's football, obviously, but for anyone else, it could be anything like painting a canvas with Uno cards. It could be anything, but having a bigger picture in your life. For me, when I first started playing football, I played selfishly. I played for myself. I played because I love the sport. That's what I wanted to do. And then as I became involved in this team atmosphere, and I realized how special and important it was with the team bonding, and that I have now friends that I'll have for the rest of my life simply because we played this sport together. I started to play for my teammates. I started to play for those around me, for my sisters. And now it has even more developed. And now I play for the next generation. I play for the growth of the sport. So understanding that there is no I in team, but there's a bigger picture. It's not just about me. It's what I can contribute and give back. And I think that's so important in life, no matter, like I said, no matter what that avenue is for you, it's so important to have that bigger picture and know that there's a purpose that you can serve. And I think that's so important to our lives in general, just having something that we can connect to, a sense of belonging to something that's bigger than ourselves.
I love the sense of belonging part. I don't want to take up too much of the airspace because we have some really great community questions. But Bonnie, I know you had a point that you wanted to make before I asked this community question. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. We'll get here together. That's the whole thing. It's togetherness.
I hear you. Having this conversation is so valuable because it solves two real problems. Number one, the dropout rate for girls' sports is twice that of boys by the time girls are turning 14. So helping girls and their parents and their coaches understand the long-term power of sports is a really valuable way to give girls a reason to stay and play. But number two, we've all gone through this, especially if we've competed at least to the college level. We go through this identity crisis when we retire or hang it up, because for so many of us, who we were was so closely aligned to the sport we played. And so there's just, you look in the mirror and you think, who am I without my sport when it's time to go get a job, to get those resumes out? And one of the things that I want to impress upon this community is that once you are an athlete, no matter what level you're competing at, you are always an athlete. You have these sports superpowers that are transferable skills. And the only thing that changes is what your field of play looks like and who your teammates are. And I just think it's something that's so valuable for us to all keep in mind, because we take this athlete with us throughout our entire lives.
Okay, Bonnie, you're gonna bring me to tears because there was definitely a moment after coaching, even when I was like, I played college sports and I hung up my whistle. I'm like, what do I do now? So I just really appreciate you for saying that. We have a couple questions. I know. So Mimi says, I'd love picking up a new sport recently to help revisit the skills and lessons. She's thanking us for reminding us of all the benefits. But then we have a question here from Sonia about our thoughts on joining sports into adulthood. Is it too late, especially to pick up on the quick skills? I'll say this, Sonia, my kids are lacrosse athletes, and I picked up a lacrosse stick, and now I know how to play lacrosse because I just threw myself out there. So please do that. But I'd love to also, Amy, I'm gonna go to you for this one first, and then see if there's anyone else who wants to share their thoughts on picking up sports, and the words of encouragement you might have, Sonia.
Yeah, I love that question. And I completely understand, like, that's such an easy fear to hold on to and a reason to not jump in, no matter, what the age is. And I would say it's absolutely not too late. One of the biggest lies that society likes to feed us is that, you can't, like the saying, like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or you get to this point in life that you've kind of missed your opportunity. And I would highly disagree. I didn't even start CrossFit. I picked up my first barbell in 2019. If I had allowed like that kind of thought process to keep me from starting, then I would be living a completely different life than I do now. So I think, our brain's ability to embrace neuroplasticity and actually like learn new skills, that never goes away, no matter what age you're at. And so, yeah, I think it's the worst thing that can happen. This is actually, a friend told me this when someone approached me about starting CrossFit. I said, well, I just don't want to look like a fool. What if I'm like too late for this? And a friend told me, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You start, you learn something new, no matter what, like, you're going to learn things about yourselves. Like, and we've heard from all of these like wonderful stories today that like failure is not a sign that you should quit. It's lessons that you embrace to the next thing, whether that's in the same sport or in a different, field of play. So yeah, absolutely. It's not too late. Start.
Yes to that. Okay. All right. I'm like, our clock is ticking. I'm like, I want to be on this call forever. So Lois, I know you have something you want to add, and I want to make sure Anyone who hasn't spoken recently, also like raise your hand in the private chat so that we can make sure that everyone gets to speak. Lois, it's your turn.
Yeah,
Love to hear your
I'll
thoughts.
just say really quickly, first of all, in response to that, you are strong, you are powerful, and you are the definition of greatness. No one can take anything from you but you. It was mentioned earlier about injury and that resiliency and responding to those things on your own terms. That's what it's all about. I'm 39 years old. I have 4 sons, and I still go hit the field, and I like to hit people and not get in trouble for it. But I'm still out here active, and it's all about you and what you put your mind to and what you work hard to do. So age is not a factor.
Okay, see, love to see it. So I want to, I'm gonna come to you. Just let's talk a little bit about like work-life balance, get in the zone. How have sports supported, you as you're transitioning off of the track and into the business world? How's this experience of dealing with even setbacks in sports helped you to handle the challenges in the business world? Your thoughts? Oh, Buki, you're up.
So I would say the thing for me is that sports has shown me that you can never actually give up on yourself. Like there's always another opportunity. I did the heptathlon, which is 7 events in one event. So you get points for each event. And there were times where I would show up and be like, I'm the best hurdler in the world. I'm about to crush it. And I would just fumble in the hurdles. And then, all of a sudden it's this refocus of you have 6 more events. Like just because you hit this hurdle doesn't mean you can count yourself out. Now you can learn to be a really good 800 runner in 24 hours, right? So I think for sports, it showed me that you always have another opportunity, even in business. If someone is like, hey, like try this new thing, and you're like, yeah, you'll be fine. You have a healthy disregard for the impossible because one day you said, I'm going to step into this space that's male dominated, that isn't even welcoming to me. And I might go on to college sports and be in the 2% who go to this next phase. And the numbers get even smaller. I mean, the smallest numbers when we get to Dr. Sheu, who is winter and summer Olympian, like now we're like 0.00001%, right? You have a healthy disregard for the impossible. So you always have another chance. Yeah, don't ever count yourself out in business when you find yourself in a space where you're like, I don't know this, because you have a healthy disregard for the impossible and you will figure it out.
That needs to be a t-shirt. So print me one and send it to me. A healthy disregard for the impossible. I want that shirt, Buki. Send me one. Dr. Sharon, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, absolutely. I need that shirt too. And Boogie, you the 1, the 2, and the 7. Shout out to heptathletes. You know what I'm saying? No. So I actually, I wanted to bring a little light to one of the most understood concepts in this, transition or in this recognition of sport and athlete and self, right, is discipline, right? And as an athlete or as a coach or as someone who has now even found this new passion for sport at whatever age you're at, what you have also adapted is a certain level of discipline that is also transferable, right? As was spoken so often earlier, discipline helps to map out your interactions with adversity, right? It helps you to framework what that feels like, what that looks like, what you want it to be, and what you need it to be. It also helps lead its way to affirmation, right? I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure everybody that is in this panel has at some point in time had to lean on some level of affirmation. For me, I made a note in my phone that would go off at 6 p.m. every single day to tell me 3 things. I trust myself, I believe in myself, and I am great. Because even on those days when I didn't quite believe it, right, which also happens when you're transitioning through this sport and business life, right? Sometimes you need those reminders that speak to your subconscious when your consciousness doesn't want to accept it, but it's always feeding you and always encouraging you and always telling you who you are at your best person. And so that's something that I want to make sure that we don't allow that to be hidden in this journey of transitioning or applying sport to entrepreneurship or being a boss or life in general.
Yes to that. Okay. I now have adopted a life tip. We'll be adding a timer for myself. That's amazing. I see that Nicole, you want to add something. I want to remind our community because we're coming down here. It's kind of close. What are some things that you've learned today? Some things that have inspired you today that you're going to take with you after this conversation comes to a close? We would love to hear your thoughts. We still have more time with our amazing speakers, but I do want to plant that seed to see what you guys have to say and what's resonated the most. All right, Nicole, I'd love to hear, your thoughts. You've raised your hand, so please take it
Well,
over.
yeah, I was just sort of following on what the doctor was just saying in terms of self-talk, sort of like pumping yourself up, like you've got this. I see, I learned that in sports. Like I think we all do it in sports. You sort of like pump yourself up before a game or before a moment. And I've translated that to business often when I'm in a high pressure situation or about to walk into a room where I have to perform. And it's amazing what just telling yourself, you've got this, you're amazing, here's what you've got to do to win this moment, and going in. It's something I've carried through my whole life. And it's such an easy thing to do. And it really does help. It really does work to put your mindset in the right place, take a moment, step away, ground, focus, and then move forward. So I was just really relating to what Dr. Shayun was saying.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Here, here, plus ones. Okay, so again, community, tell us what you've learned, what you're going to take with you. Dr. Jen, I'm going to come to you. A lot about sports, and this is not a question on our brief. This is a question Amber made up in her head. A lot about sports is all about like teamwork and being a part of a team and being a good teammate to each other, or at least learning our way through that. Um, how can we embody that in the workplace? How can we teach some of our colleagues, right, to have some of these qualities, or inspire our colleagues to have some of these more athletic qualities? Any thoughts, advice?
I mean, I think, sometimes it's really hard in corporate settings to be with people who have never been on a team. So they don't understand what interacting with a team is. A part of being a great teammate is being able to hold yourself accountable when things are going wrong, and then to actively be able to make those changes in a quick manner, right? Like no one wants to hear, yeah, it's my fault, and then nothing's ever changed within a year. So I think it's the aspect of A, being able to hold yourself accountable, B, be able to make the needed changes in a repeatable manner. I think the next thing about being a good teammate is being able to be involved in conflict. As women, we're not taught to be involved in conflict. We're taught conflict is bad. And so then what we tend to see on women-led teams is conflict avoidantness at its highest level, coupled with passive aggressiveness. And so to be a really good teammate is to be able to go and talk to someone and say, here is what my concerns are. Here is how I feel. And to be able to have an open dialogue, because the best teams have the best ability to navigate conflict. I'm not saying conflict doesn't happen. The absence of conflict does not mean harmony. People think that without conflict, everything's going to go wrong. And that's a failure. If you have no conflict in your relationship or your company's going to fail. You have to have the grappling, the butting of heads, the pushing ideas back and forth. That is a huge part about being a really good teammate, is that I can be in conflict with you about an idea. I might not agree with it 100%, but I'm still willing to push it forward. Those are such important qualities to being an excellent teammate. And also being willing to be led, because you're not always going to be the person on the horse. Sometimes you're going to be the person sitting down with the flag cheering. And you have to be willing to be led because you don't know everything. So that would be my kind of comment.
I love that so very, very much. And I really, really appreciate you also painting the reality that a lot of people don't know what it's like to be on a team. So thank you so very much for that. I'd like to go to Robin, just thinking about, again, like share a little bit of your perspective on, how we're building these teams in the workplace, or what we could do to inspire others who might not be bringing this lived experience with them.
I just say as a coach, I'm an optimist that all these things are teachable. And I do a lot of teamwork training, and a lot of that is around emotional intelligence, understanding your triggers, understanding your communication and conflict style. And I do want to double click on something Dr. Jen said, which is um, we have this conflation with conflict is bad. And there is toxic and bad conflict, but conflict can also be very healthy and very productive and move the ball forward. And so what you learn a lot in a sports team is, not always, but how to have that productive, healthy conflict. And that can be taught. And a lot of that comes down to the culture you're building in your organization. So a lot of this is like deep cultural foundation work of the type of company you're going to build that's then going to impact the behavior of the teams.
Love that. Love that. Buki.
I think for me, it forces you to like build this bridge of trust. It forces you. When you're on a soccer team, you can't be all 12 players. As much as you would love to be or desire to be, you literally just cannot. You cannot be the forward, the midfield, and the goalie, right? So you are now on a team of X number of people, and it forces you to build that bridge of trust. And the way it translates for me in the business world is when I was an entrepreneur of one, right? I needed to trust myself. When I was an entrepreneur of, 3, it was like me and my closest friends, aka Amber, me and my closest friends, right? So it was like, I'm trusting people I trust with my life. So of course I'm going to trust them with this email, right? When I was leading teams that are like 100, 300, right? I have to build a bridge of trust. I have to say, hey, they bring expertise, they bring perspective, innovation is going to grow here, and we have to lean into trust. So I think for me, teamwork forces your hand to build a bridge of trust that you otherwise like might not be that open to building. And I think that has helped me a ton in business. When you are trying to scale to 100,000, a million, a billion users, you do not have all the answers, period, end of story. You do not have all the perspective, period, end of story. And I think that skill is undervalued. And anyone who decides to do sports, it's forced upon you. So congrats.
Appreciate that. Yes to that. Bonnie.
Amber, I've put together a list of all of the different skill sets you learn through sports that help you in your career, and it's probably north of 30. Interestingly enough, when I'm talking to people about those skill sets that resonate most, there are 2 I hear very infrequently, but are critical when it comes to building a strong workforce and a healthy work culture. Those are compassion and empathy. Until fairly recently, compassion and empathy were never really considered critical leadership skills to create a strong company. The recent research has told us otherwise. And so as we talk about all the different elements of teamwork and resilience and patience and time management and all those sorts of things, let's not short shrift the power of being compassionate and showing your teammates in the workforce empathy, because caring about somebody beyond them being an employee or a number is quite possibly the most powerful way to create a successful company. Because if you do that, then the employee mindset is such that they will run through a wall, and you need people to want to run through a wall for you to build a strong company.
Yes to all of that. Okay, listen, if you're not inspired after today's conversation, I don't know what's going to inspire you. So I know I'm super inspired, and we're going to give each of our speakers one last closing word because we are nearing the end. I do want to say, for all of our community members, just really appreciate all that you guys have brought to this discussion as well. We can't have these conversations without you. I'd love to hear from each of our speakers, quick closing word, a call to action, or anything that you left on the table. Remember, please keep it quick. Amy, you're going to start us off first, and then Lois, and we have our order. All right, Amy, take it away.
Awesome. First of all, I've loved being here today. Like, I have learned so much and just hearing what everyone else has to say as well. One of the questions I think I get the most often is, how do you stay motivated to stay disciplined, to like do everything that we've talked about is incredibly important and also so hard to sustain. And one of the biggest and most important shifts in my mindset in the last few years is to embrace, they call it a growth mindset. And it's just this idea of, yes, you have goals, you want to get to a specific place, but in your process in getting there, you focus and find your reward in the effort that you're putting in. And rather than like, I am the best athlete, I am this, I am that, you wake up and say, I have all of the skills that I need, and I know how to get here based on the effort that I put in. And once we actually find joy in that process, everything that is difficult that we're encountering, it doesn't make it not difficult, but it means that, you know, as long as we work hard at it, we're going in the right direction. And so I think that applies to everything, even what Bonnie was just saying. It's hard to stay compassionate when you're in like the thick of it. And, you know, when you're focusing on your effort and putting in yourself and in your teammates and in your workplace, in whatever capacity, I think it just changes everything and how the signs that the hardship is giving you as you're moving forward, if that makes sense. So thank you guys so much for including me in this.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I also thanks so much for having me here. It is an important conversation that we need to have so often. I think that our environment is what really dictates where we go and how we succeed. A lot, it's a heavy dictator in that. So surround yourself with, you know, people, places, and things that are going to support your goals. You know, teach our young girls that they belong in these sports spaces, whether it be on the field, in the court, or behind the camera, or wherever it may be. They belong, and if they want to be there, they can. And also hit somebody with your talents, hit somebody with your love, hit somebody with your wisdom. Be a positive impact in someone else's life. Thank you.
Oh, it's me up here. So I would say my last words are, I need you all to go toward the smoke. What we have is we have a lot of conversations in our minds we know we need to have, but for some reason we are unwilling to have them, personal and professional. And one thing, I'm a trained mediator, and we're taught to go towards the smoke as opposed to away from it. And so what tends to happen, that means that if there's a comment someone makes, we're like, well, I don't really want to, I want to get into it. And we go away from the smoke versus going towards it. So the first thing is I invite you to go towards the smoke. The second thing I invite you is that conflict work is mental health work. A lot of you all are having big mental health issues because you painfully refuse to get involved in conflict. I don't want to start something. I don't want to be a problem. I don't want to. And you are stopping the war, but you're building the battle inside of you. You've built this battle inside of you because you don't want something to occur with someone else. It is okay, but I need you to go towards the smoke and have those conversations that are affecting you mentally and keeping you up late at night.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so inspired by this group of women. This has just been the most amazing hour. My last thought is just that my hope for the future for girls is that they receive the same support and opportunity in athletics as all boys, and in future, that we continue to support them, that we do use our voices to help them to lead the way, because I think that athletics and being part of a sports team is just invaluable. So thank you again.
No, it's me. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm just so wrapped into what everybody is saying, and so honored to be a part of such a dynamic and an incredible group of women. Thank you again to Female Quotient for putting on this incredible panel, and for everybody in all your comments. It's been incredible to watch some of the things you said as well. Last thoughts for me would definitely be, one, first of all, life is for living. You know, really take the opportunity to understand that impossible is nothing, right? And I think that that's something that we've all owned at different versions, you know, in different parts of our lives, is recognizing that just because we get a no doesn't mean that it's the end of the road. That's just a detour in a long game, in a journey. And, you know, I think that I want to make sure that when I leave here, I want everybody that's in here to continue to be empowered, to continue to fight towards what it is that you want to achieve, whether that's through sport or whether that's in your daily living. You know, really believe in what and who you are, because you can do whatever you want.
Okay, I need y'all to look in the camera right now. I don't know who needs to hear this, but you have an incredibly powerful superpower that can propel you to any place that you want to go. I'm in the process of building out a community. I hope you'll follow us. Just for now on social, I'm at Bonnie Bernstein. Connect with me on LinkedIn. We are continuing to build out this platform that makes the connection between sports participation and career success. We are continuing to look for women to have as guests on our podcast, to have conversations with. If you are one of those women, senior level CEOs, senior executives, badass entrepreneurs who want to be able to share with the world your story, your sports journey, about how you've leveraged what you've learned as an athlete to thrive in your career. These are important stories to share, not just for those of us who are adults, but for young girls. It is so important for them to understand in real time that playing sports isn't just about the fun, the physical benefits, the emotional benefits, the community. It is all of that. And the longer you stay in play, the greater the likelihood you will thrive in your career. So I hope you'll join us.
I'll close with this. When I was younger, there were just so many ups and downs with sports, missing that last goal, losing that last race, and I would be so upset. And my wise and incredible, phenomenal mother, Lola Bambi Boy, I just got to shout her out because she's amazing and likely watching, would always say, count it all joy. Count it all joy. Every missed shot, every lost race, count it all joy. Because what you've done is you've taken another step closer to who you've been called to be. And she'd always say, count it all joy. So if I can leave you all with anything, sports has taught every one of us to count it all joy.
That was so inspiring. Count it all joy. I'm going to bring it back to the actionable and tactical of this conversation, which is people who play sports early in life thrive later in life. We have an opportunity like none other right now to vote with our eyeballs and our dollars. So everybody listening, buy the WNBA pass, buy the tickets to the NWSL expanding in your team. This is a moment of representation in sports, and it will travel to all the other industries that we don't see if we all step up and help continue to build this movement. So let's all do it.
Yes. Okay, listen, again, thank you to our speakers. Thank you to all of our community. Y'all show up and show out every single week. We want to make sure, that you connect with each other in the chat, but connect and follow our speakers and all the work that they're doing. They are phenomenal. All right. When we connect and we bring our community together, we engage the power of the pack, because when we share and like and discuss, our power grows and our connections deepen. All right, really quickly, we say this every week, but do you want to be a guest? We pick y'all from the audience and pull you up here on the stage, because I know you have a lot to share. Scan that QR code. Please, please, please fill it out. You can DM us. You can email us. We do this every week, so let us know if you want to join us on Power of the Pack. Also, mark your calendars. Tell a friend. Come back next week. For the 11th, we are going to have a conversation about embracing the workplace rainbow and queering the path to inclusion for Pride Month. Super important conversation. So we want to make sure that you check out the Quotient event calendar for more. Thank you to our speakers. Y'all are so dope and amazing. I hope that you all stay connected with each other as well. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Everyone take care.